Let's go to the issue that happened over the weekend, the killing of 12 elephants at the Tsavo East National Park. And what that has done is reignite discussion on poaching and conservation of wildlife. And if you missed the story, well, last weekend, an entire family of 12 elephants were killed and the tusks carted off. KWS reported one of the elephants could have been just 2 months old. And to begin with, Kenya holds one of the highest elephant populations on the continent. According to the Kenya Wildlife Service, the country is home to about 39,000 elephants. And if you want to put this into perspective, that's like a fully packed Nyayo National Stadium. I understand that it has a capacity of 35,000. But in 2012, this number deteriorated and it came up to about 289 of them were killed and were poached in that year. But in last year, the figure increased to 360. And with the number of poached elephants increasing, observers warn that in 20 years, the world will not have any more African elephants. Foreign exchange earnings also come into play here, with elephant as one of the big 5 animals being a major attraction for tourists visiting Kenyan parks. And it was against this backdrop, perhaps, that Prime Minister Raila Odinga made an appeal to the international community to help strengthen the national and international policing to deal with wildlife trafficking as a serious threat to conservation, rule of law, governance, and economic development. The international trade in elephant ivory has been outlawed since 1989, yet trade in ivory remains lucrative. And just last week, officials in Hong Kong seized more than a ton of ivory worth $1.4 million in a shipment from Kenya following last weekend's incident. 2 suspected poachers were gunned down and a G3 rifle, 12 rounds of ammunition and 8 pieces of ivory recovered in Mlango area in Isiolo County. But is it enough to catch the suspects after the crime? What can we do to prevent poaching altogether? Well, joining us now by way of telephone is Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, an international authority on the rearing of wild creatures running the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust. Dame Daphne has successfully hand-reared over 130 newborn elephant orphans, some from just hours old. Now, Dame Daphne, perhaps we could begin with the economic impact of slaughtering these animals, because that's really what we're doing.
Yes, the economic impact of killing is enormous, because elephants are key to the tourist industry, and the tourist industry provides employment for millions of Kenyans and a livelihood for millions of people. Not only that, elephants are a key species that are crucial to the environment. They create the water holes, they recycle woodland into grassland and plant a new generation of trees in their dung, and so they are vital to the grazing species as well. So if you lose elephants, you lose a lot of other species as well, and you lose the tourist industry, because they are one of the big 5 that tourists want to see.
Right, and we're talking about the environment concerns here, but I know it takes a really long time for an elephant to be reared into maturity. And being a person who has reared them, how long does it take?
At any age, an elephant duplicates a human child of the same age, so they can breed at about age 14. The gestation period for an elephant is 2 years, so I also told everyone it takes 2 years to make an elephant and only 9 months to make a human. They are very human animals emotionally and absolutely amazingly sophisticated.
All right, and as we move forward, there are people I was talking to and they were saying, okay, why should we really care about elephants? They're just wildlife anyway. But why is it such a big deal?
Well, I think every Kenyan cares about having a job and having some money on which to live. Every Kenyan would suffer if the elephants went, because the tourist industry would go elsewhere where there are still elephants remaining. And every Kenyan wants to have a quality of life. And if they lose the tourist industry, they lose the biggest revenue earner that the country has.
All right, and finally, before I let you go, we're being told that in 20 years we might not have elephants on the continent. What are some of the things we can do to mitigate the poaching crisis?
The crisis is such now that it needs the international community to engage China and to plead with them to help Africa save the elephants, because China is the main destination for illegal ivory. Sentencing for perpetrators, for poachers, must be enhanced. And if the Kenya government can put in drastic measures to check bad driving, I'm sure they can do the same thing for poaching. And this is something that has to be done here locally, because the sentences meted out to poachers currently are totally inadequate and ridiculously lean. It really did take the GSU and helicopter gunships to go in there and try and limit the offtake that's being taken by armed Somali gunmen. And, you know, this is a very serious crisis now, and something the government needs to wake up to.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We've been speaking to Dr. Dame Daphne Sheldrick, an international authority when it comes to the rearing of wild creatures. She does run the David Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, and just as we had mentioned earlier, she has successfully reared about 130 newborn elephants, all of whom are orphans from just hours old.